expect it to be fun and joyous and tender, and we don't expect everyone to speak either. I think that there's been some anxiety about, oh, I don't want to speak, and so we don't expect you to do that. But in the decision making, we decided what we would do is we would be very casual. We would meet, and Kirk and Sue, this place could not be better. This is fabulous, and it's a great time of year. And that we would celebrate Mom, but we'd talk about Ralph, Dad, and I think we should talk about Sally too, because family wasn't gathered for Sally. So I think there's a lot of stories. We're not going to be here really for a long time. We're actually headed to lunch later. But what we'd like everyone to do is to stand up and tell their stories. Anything you want to say about Anne, Ralph, Sally, we welcome them. We have a few ashes we're going to scatter, and if someone would like to volunteer for a prayer, that would be great. And then Jan is going to sing us out. As Sue said, leave on a high note here. And then we're all going to lunch. So I thought I would start by talking about mudslides and how I did bring tissue for everyone. Actually, I think I'm going to talk about tap dancing and how, as Ken reminded us, Mom was a great tap dancer. And for Sue and I, she would tap dance for our high school friends and embarrass us sometimes.
I was going to say, as any good mother should.
As any good mother should, right. And actually that was when I went back to work, someone asked me about her, and that is really what came to me, was tap dancing. But I also want to talk about mudslides, because in the recent years, I would pick her up. We only did this a few times, but it just seemed so cemented with Mom, with Anne. But we would go to the liquor store, and we would buy these little bottles of mudslides, these little mini bottles, and we'd go through the drive-through of McDonald's, and we'd get the ice, and we'd put them in the thing, and in the cups, and the thing she loved about this was sitting in the parking lot and drinking these, but this feeling that she was getting away with something. And I go, Mom, someone's coming, put the cup down. She, she loved that. And I think, she had such fun with life, and as we all know, when we stood by her bed, she kept her mind, and she kept her love. And Sue, has shared the Solar Queen and how absolutely, just fun she had in those moments. So I want to talk about Dad, and I want to talk about Sally too. I think I want to talk about Sally first. I don't think I've ever met as dynamic or charismatic person as Sally, and I don't think I ever will meet anyone like her. She could walk up to anyone and charm them in a heartbeat, just a heartbeat. And I know Mom and Dad always talked about that, and she is, the world greatly misses someone like that who can friend anyone, and we all should be reminded of that. As for Dad, I was telling someone this story today. As everyone knows, he had sometimes a little bit of conspiracy theory about him, and sometimes you kind of had to go, wait a minute. And unfortunately, when they moved to Vegas and bought a house, there came a development behind their house across the street that they were so angry about. They'd been told by the builder that there'd be residential homes on the other side of the street. Instead, there was a proposal for a Walgreens. I mean, you might have thought it was a strip joint, according to Dad and Mom. They were so mad about it. And Dad went to all these meetings, and he gave this county commissioner such a bad time. I mean, he wrote scathing letters. It was to me a little bit off the charts, but unfortunately he passed, and about a year after, this county commissioner that he was certain was on the take went to federal prison over that development. And so, you know, I guess in bringing up these three, each brought something. Mom, smartness and wit, and Sally, charisma, and Ralph, always the kind of detective, right? And looking out for all of us. And I think we've all been blessed. I know we've all been blessed. And I know Ken would like to go next, and then it's kind of free form for whatever people would like to say.
Don't panic. We didn't plan on anybody but really the grandkids and Ken, so don't feel like you have to say something.
Yes.
Except for Kay, I think.
Yes.
I have a great memory of my sister. We, of course, were twins. You might say we were roommates. And we grew up together as only twins could. We went to the same classrooms, same teachers. We had the same friends. We had the same cousins. We had everything we shared in life, we shared together. But one of our greatest sharing was in music. True, Ann was a dancer. She tap danced and she did ballet, but she also did music. And I began playing the violin, studied for 17 years. Ann started on the piano. And before long, she was accompanying me while I was soloing. And we went to different places and had recitals and concerts and so on and so forth. And we even sang in a choir together. I know that's hard for some of you to believe that I had a voice, but it's true. And Ann was always very nervous, and I mean nervous, just before we performed. And she was so tight, and she was so nervous that I started doing something. And just before we would step out on the stage, I would say to her, Ann, don't worry, everybody is looking at you and everybody's listening. And I'd play on that theme just long enough to get her just angry enough to go out there and not forget the whole thing. So we had fun together. We joked together. We had some of the best friends, and we had a good education. We didn't have a lot of money in our family. On the Norwegian side, we came from a bunch of farmers. The father's side was Norwegian. The mother's side mostly came from Scotland, England, and Ireland. And there was at least 4 generations of coal miners ahead of us. And my grandmother married a coal miner, and he got killed in the Battle of the Somme in World War I in October of 1916. And she was left with 5 children, the oldest of which was 14. And in those days there were no great welfare programs or things, and of that nature. And she lived at first on $80 a month and later on $80 a month, and raised 5 children. And she determined they would never remain coal miners. The oldest son was Jim Reed, and he began in the coal mine at the age of 12, and he drove the ponies in and out of the coal mines with chunks of coal in the carts behind. And he was paid 1/2 what a full-grown miner would be paid, and that was the way they got young people, young men into the mines, because when they saw the money doubling, and the coal miners made pretty good money because nobody would take the job unless they did. And so she worked her way through that, and as children we never had a lot. In fact, we never had a bicycle until we were 10 years of age. So, but we didn't feel poor. And when we went on and got through high school, which was a big achievement in those days, and I went on to college and so on and so forth, and life is history. But we left each other essentially in the 9th grade because she went into a different program than I did. And I went on, I got in the Navy, and my mother and she accompanied me to the railroad station as I went off after I was called up during the Korean War. And anyway, we met again and again because of the children we had. And I had Karen and Jim, and of course there was Sue, and there was Lynn, and we met their children, and now they're children's children. And I feel it an honor to have been Ann's brother, because she had a great sense of humor. She had to put up with me. And so I will remember her always fondly, and I'll always remember her as a determined person who had a view on something she wouldn't be shaken from it. All the way from the way she packed her medicines in her suitcase with tape. And certain things that she did that she just adhered to and was very strong about. Anyway, I'll give that over to the next person.
I'd like to say something about her held positions, and I want to thank Sue and Kirk for taking care of her in her latest years, but I also want to question her being allowed to watch Fox News because I think she became a lot stronger in her
Couldn't have been any
I
stronger.
was afraid of her. I had to let her watch Fox.
Would someone like to go?
That's okay.
So, the best memories of Grandma Ann and Grandpa Ralph were going to San Diego and Las Vegas. My favorite memory of Grandma Ann was in San Diego. We went to an island. I don't remember what island is outside of San Diego, but we went to an island, and I saw this Beanie Baby, and we had just gotten a puppy who looked like this Beanie Baby. It was like $70 at this island. I was like, I'm not buying that, obviously. So we go back, and I'm all sad, and she showed me how to use the phone book, so I could call everywhere around to see if they had Weenie, the Beanie Baby. And then I found some place, and it was like an hour-long drive. And she was like, that's okay. And she drove me there, and I will always remember that with this Beanie Baby. And then what I want to say about Grandpa Ralph is that I always remember him calling me Jessie, because he knew I hated when my family called me Jessie. So he called me that forever. And then I also remember playing in the pool, and he would hold me down so long. I feel like I can probably hold my breath longer than any of my friends, probably not longer than any of people who were probably how to deal with it the same. But those were the best memories, the summers of going down there and visiting them every year. That's my favorite thing to remember.
So I'll keep it brief. I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with my grandparents. They were, this is difficult, very influential for me in my life. I was held under the pool a million times.
There are a lot of people with that.
The one advantage I had is I actually got him back when I got big enough. He never did it again. That started way early. Dustin and I were real young. He taught us to swim. We messed around. We played this game called Bear, where the lights were off in the house, and he would scare the crap out of us.
Everyone hates bear.
Yeah, it was fun. With both of them, like I said, they were super influential in my life. Grandma Ann just loved to smile and laugh, and she had a brilliance in her eyes all the time, no matter what was going on. So she was very easy to be around, almost to me, like the real person leading the show in a way, you know. Grandpa was like almost for sure the leader, but she was kind of the one in the background. Like he wasn't doing, let me put it this way, he wasn't doing anything unless he knew she approved. Both of them had a really fun side, and also could carry themselves with a lot of like elegance and class in the right situations and stuff. And I feel super grateful to have all that time with them. I had more that I wanted to touch on. Like I said, I just kind of want to say how fortunate I feel, and I know I speak for my siblings and my cousins and everything, and that we had that time because they were so influential and so good and so providing and making sure we had whatever we needed for whatever we were into. And I also, while I'm on that note, I know I caused them a whole lot of grief at different times in my life, so sorry. Maybe I never even said that, I don't know. But I just, the memories are innumerous. Like it would, I'm sure, come out in a lot of conversations with everyone, and literally the most influential people in my life, and I know a lot of people around here feel the same way. So thank you.
So like Jessica, I've been thinking a lot about all the summers I would spend with Grandma and Grandpa in Vegas and San Diego, and I've been thinking about, like Ian, how they influenced me and how they've made me become the person I am today. Grandma definitely helped sharpen my wry sense of humor, like in large part. She really helped develop a strong sense of competitiveness, especially when playing card games, and that obviously came back when I went back to Las Vegas to live and spend time with her again. And then like the summer before my senior year of high school, she took me to visit colleges, including Caltech, where I ended up going. But the thing I remember most about them is how they taught me to do like whatever you can for the people you love, always, and how that's the most important thing. And that's something I'm very thankful for, and something I'll always remember.
I'm talking. Okay. First time I met Ann and Ralph, I just been working with Sue for about 4 months. So I didn't know her that well either, but the Final Four was in Salt Lake City, So they worked hard to try to get us tickets. And and they had to go down to the hotel and do all this, and they finally got it. So they got me into the biggest college basketball game in history, Magic Bird. So that was a great thing, and all the trips to Disneyland and things, and with Anne the last 4 years, so really get to know her well. Played a lot of gin rummy, that kind of things, and I just want to thank Anne for being my friend. So she'll always be my friend. So thank you.
I'm gonna end, so if everyone else is done, we're done.
Does anyone else?
Okay.
Well, I remember going to Ann and Ralph's house in Ogden at Christmas time. They invited us, Kirk and I, my mom and dad, and then our kids, when they were born and got a little older, and they welcomed us all the time. And I didn't know, how much Christmas meant to them, and your grandparents too, I recall. And I know the first time I went in there under the tree, I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, there were just mounds of gifts in there. And we had such, a great time, always there. That was very fun. And so the last few years, we would visit Kirk and Sue, and Ann and I always shared a gin and tonic together at night, and so that's wonderful. That's what I recall.
Hi, I'm Karen. I'm Ann and Ralph's niece. I used to joke with them when I would call that I would say, "Hi, it's Karen, your favorite niece." And of course I was her only niece, but it still meant a lot. And I just want to say that what I remember about both of them is just how loving they were, and how wonderful they were to me and Jim on the times that we would visit. And in particular, how grateful I was and what a wonderful sister Ann was to my dad. And my mom, Sally, I would have to say that if you were to guess which family she came from, if she came from this side of the family or her own side of the family, I would have bet in a minute that it was this side of the family, because this family is crazy. Her personality just fit in perfectly with this family. She used to love this family very much. And she adored Ann and Ralph. She really did. And I know from talking with Ann, I talked to her really just a few days before she passed away, and there was just such an irony because she was feeling miserable. And the only thing she could talk about with me was how appreciative she was that I had called, and how wonderful it was for her to talk to me. And in reality, it was just such a blessing that I had a chance to talk to her. And she loved this family. She really, really did. The way that she talked about you guys, Sue and Lynn and all her grandkids, she was so proud of everybody. And I'm just glad that, of course, these Ann and Ralph and my mom would have loved this opportunity here. And it's good to know that they're here in spirit.
Okay, just a couple of words. First of all, thank you for setting this up. I know there were a lot of hands that put this together, but what a beautiful scenery and perfect day for it, and very good stories. I don't really have a story other than what I was taught. Oh, geez. Sorry, guys. The ironic thing, it is humor. I was taught humor between Ann, Ralph, this guy, and my mom. And if there's anything to carry on, it's damn good. A good sense of humor. So sorry for. Oh, jeez. I didn't think it'd be this hard, but it is. You know, I just the one thing I will say is even in the last year, this guy would come up. You know, and you heard his jokes. You know, the puns that he comes up with. And Ann had, and you'll know this. She had a look to her that would just. You know, he'd give his pun, and she'd give you this look that was just like, and it put him right in his spot every time. And so, you know, when you talk about who was in control, it was very obvious to me who was in control. So, wow, that's not easy to do. But again, thank you guys for setting this up, because it is special.
Okay. Well, I hadn't planned on talking about Sally, but since we're talking about Sally a little bit, I have one favorite story of Sally and Ken taking us to a baseball game in Minneapolis. It happened to be the Red Sox, which Sally had given her love of the Red Sox to me, and I don't know if I passed it on to JD, but truly love the Red Sox. But we're at the game, and we're clear up. We're on, I think we're behind the netting even, behind the batters. And every foul ball, Jimmy was about 5 or 6. Sally would yell out, every foul ball, Jimmy, get your mitt! Get your mitt, Jimmy! It didn't matter where that foul ball was. That's the kind. Sally was about this big, and she had this voice that would carry. Well, everyone's like. But anyway, that's one of my favorite memories.
I still have never gotten a ball either.
I think people were moving away from us after that. But anyway, talk about Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad were in love with each other. They loved each other more than I think I've ever seen any two people love each other. Dad was a lot like Mr. Forest Ranger from Yogi Bear and Barney Fife. You know. And Mom was a lot like maybe Donna Reed and Ethel Mertz. I think she reminded me of Ethel. She would go along with any dumb plan anyone had. So anyway, that's how our life was. I thought our life was pretty normal, and then I'm looking around, questioning that. But anyway, Ken was Mom's rock. I mean, yet I don't remember one time where there was a serious moment that passed between them, but if she needed something, she knew she could turn to Ken. You know, and her grandkids. Well, some people mentioned they said how firm she was on her position. I would say stubborn. Of course, I apparently inherited that trait, but Mom, yeah, maybe. But Mom used to get the biggest kick out of Maggie being stubborn with me. Maggie's our beagle, and Maggie can be as stubborn as anything can be. And Maggie wouldn't come, and Mom would laugh so hard that she would, I mean, almost hurt. But anyway, Maggie misses Mom dearly. But speaking of grandkids, Dustin was the first. Well, he was the absolute most beautiful baby ever. That's what we thought at the time. Yes, we did. You know. But after that, he was the best baby ever. He was the best 1-year-old ever. He was the best 2-year-old ever. He was the best till he's today. He's the best dad ever, he's the best everything ever. Then came Ian. Well, Ian was the most beautiful baby ever. And I mean, he kind of was, you know. He reminded Mom of Dad. So if you feel free to call Ian Barney Fife if you'd like. But she loved Dad, she loved Ian. Then came JD. JD and Mom had a quiet relationship. They would, JD would listen to Mom, whatever she said. Absolutely. And soak it all in. And JD gave Mom an excuse to go to baseball games. Mom loved baseball. She loved JD. And then there was Jessica. Well, we got the girl. We got the girl finally, you know. Now that's shopping with the girl. Jessica mentioned shopping, you know, so this is like double bonus. But Jessica could make Mom laugh more than anyone I know. Her mom had this little teasing thing. I don't know why I'm doing that, but that always went. Mom thought Jessica was an angel. I kept a lot for Mom. Alex. Now, Alex was the second girl, which made it doubly better, and she was living in Las Vegas, which made it really nice. And now she's married and has a baby and lives in North Carolina. Well, Mom started out with a brand new Lynn in North Carolina. And she was remembering all of those days because of you, Alex. She remembered it all, and it just really made her happy. Mike, she thought was the sweetest boy ever. You know, and Mom and I would differ on a few issues, but Mike, she stuck to sweet, and I really kind of think he's trouble. It's just me. Anyway, and then there's Karen, of course. Karen knew everything. If you need to ask a question, call Karen, Sue. Just call Karen. She'll know what to do. She did, however, think Karen was completely politically misguided. I mean,
And I wasn't.
And Jim and his family, Jim and Heather and Sam and Joe and Ella, she'd talk about them constantly when she would come back from the visits and how busy this family was and crazy and all of that. I mean, she loved Ella. I mean, she thought Ella was a little Phyllis. Phyllis was our aunt and Mom's aunt, but she just thought she was the best ever. And then there was Annalisa. Annalisa, she was especially happy to see Annalisa growing up. I mean, it's a really big time in a little girl's life. She's growing up. And then Harrison, well, that was just a thing she couldn't understand right now. That was just a ball of energy running through the room, you know. And then, like I mentioned, Camden, that brought her all those Lynn memories back, and that was really special. Then there was Flavin Mark. Well, Flavin, Mom knew probably more about Flavin Mark than I wanted her to, because I would tell her too much. Anyway, she knew how close we were, and she knew how much you meant. And Kangale, she always gave her a reason for that gin and tonic. You know, I'm glad they're coming over, you know. And then Kim and Les, of course. They didn't, when she came up here, they never forgot her. Holidays, birthdays, they invited us to all of that. That was really tough. And anyway, I'm done. So, thank God for Google, because we've got a Bible verse here. Oh, this is kind of, oh, like, okay. Yeah.
No humor in this family.
Anyway, so Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me in all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Mom and Dad are together forever, and Mom used to make us say our prayer at night, and it went, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray their soul, God's soul to keep. So God bless you, Mom and Dad. And I don't know who wants to do the
Who would
honor.
like to,
Oh, Jan.
well, do we want to scatter the ashes?
I don't know if you want to do that.
Look around, this is like drinking mudslides.
Oh, I don't think so, man. What now?
Somebody else was there first. I think
My cup runneth over too.
we are going to, we have more ashes. I think that will be dropped out of pockets and taken to Wyoming and all sorts of places.
I don't think I'm putting any of them on. So, run a little gold salute to them. You want to just... If this gets on me, guys, I'm gonna freak.
Not into the wind, Sue.
Yeah.
Not into the wind.
No, into the wind, Sue. Go ahead. Close your mouth.
I'm going this way, you know? Then I don't want to get you. So I'm just gonna...
So what I'm going to ask you to do is not look at me. Perhaps you might want to close your eyes or raise them up towards the leaves. And I actually met Ann way before I met Lynn, and we were in the right political party. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. And when my flesh and heart has failed, and mortal life has ceased, I will profess from beyond the veil that I have lived a life of joy and
Okay, let's go eat, drink, and be merry. Have some mudslides.
What?
I should put them in.